Now? You need a two hand. Okay, come. Don't hold it. Don't touch it. Don't.
Hey, wait.
Okay, lift.
उठा खींच मत उठा
Lift. Yeah, lift. Here, you hold.
So the air ambulance businesses definitely, or air ambulance services are coming to a huge play in terms of airlifting patients from, especially coming down for transport, like specialist centers where they have a facility for ECMO or a higher care, like transplant units or tertiary care centers, what you call it. So the calls are overwhelming, and there are a lot of distress calls as well, like people asking that we do not have facility here, can you come and take us? It's very heartbreaking for doctors like this, because we are trained to save lives, and because it's only limited capacity of how much you can do on an air ambulance. Although we try to do as much as possible, we are working 24/7, round the clock. The entire team is just totally haven't had a single break since almost last 3-4 months. Despite that, we end up thinking that at the end of the day we just haven't done enough.
How many doctors, how many members in your team are working?
I'm the co-founder director for iCat Air Ambulance Company, and I have another co-founder called Dr. Rahul Singh Sardar. We are the two co-founders, and we have a very strong, formidable team of quite a few layers, like doctors, back-end staff, administration staff, doctors, paramedics, perfusionists, and so every team has its own leader. So they're kind of divided into perfusionists have a team leader called Mr. Niranjan. The administration is headed by Mr. Satish Munoli, and then the paramedics are headed by Mr. Ratnakar. So we have teams and the team leaders. So at least there are 4 or 5 teams which kind of non-stop work round the clock. We have our own fellowship in aeromedical sciences, so fellowship program where we have trained our own aeromedical commandos called who are first of its kind in India, because India didn't have flying doctors. So we brought in this course to India with all the specialists from all over the world, and it's called FAM. And we have trained nearly 16 doctors and 12 paramedics under this scheme. So they're the first doctors in India who can do anything from the primary assessment to do ECMO transfers, or they can even do up to opening a pregnant lady in a trauma called a perimortem cesarean section. So they are trained to the highest form skill, and these are the best doctors who we chose in India to train them into becoming flying doctors.
As of now, how many airlifts have been done? As I'm aware, some more than 80 seems.
Yeah, so ours is kind of, we have done the highest number of ECMO COVID transfers in the world at this point of time. Nearly 80 since October last year, or even less time than that. And then if you just look at the other kind of regular transfers, in fact, because we have a specialist ECMO team, flying ECMO team, and we were the first in India to establish the team as well, because ECMO is a very highly specialized ultra critical skill. And since nobody, we didn't have any kind of a flying ECMO in India, which didn't exist, although this is not what we are new to. We've been practicing this in the UK, and then we brought this skill, and also we have been conducting workshops on this since 2015 itself. We didn't predict something like this to happen, but we knew in the swine flu epidemic this played a role, ECMOs played a role. Since then, we always have been interested in this, and since India didn't have anything like this before, we thought we will start preparing India, although nobody ever expected something like this would happen.
Do you feel that somewhere bringing them to the hospital and giving treatment to them, people are very much keen about it, and are they ordering you for the request? Are they putting requests for?
So, see, if you look at the first wave to the second wave, there are a lot of young people who are dying this time. And these are all the young earning member of the family, having small kids and parents whom they are looking after, siblings dependent on them. And when it comes to life is priceless. And I think every single person, every single family, putting everything forward to save those lives, no matter what it takes, is what it is. I think if you pick up anybody in this world and say like, okay, this is there to save the life, would you want to go for it? They would say yes. So this is a desperate situation. This is this very destructive virus. It is leaving us shaken to kind of. There is absolutely no words to say how distraught we feel as medical professionals.
How was it in the last phase, ma'am? Because you started your service from Bangalore itself.
Yeah. So this service, though we are operational last 4 years, the integrated air ambulance service was launched in September. That means both the helicopters and the planes, like fixed wing planes and the land ambulance, all these three we inaugurated in September. Although just a air ambulance service in using a fixed wing, we were operational since 4 years. So the integrated service is the one which got inaugurated here, the September. That's nothing like not an air ambulance service at all. So of course, from compared to the first wave to the second wave, there's a humongous difference in terms of the virulence. That means that is the destructive nature of this virus. To the spread as well, it is very higher compared to the last time. And for example, in the peak when we had 5,000 in Bangalore, now we are having 20,000 in Bangalore. So the higher number as well. Even if you take 1% of them get sick, it's a big number for a population like us in India. And especially these ECMO centers or the transplant centers, most of them are established ones, are all back in down in south. So like Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore. So more and more cases come towards south as well. Since we are the South Indian based company and Bangalore based, Hyderabad based company, and we already been established here, we do the highest number of organ airlifts as well. Most of the doctors and the transplant surgeons were all we were working in conjunction with them. So this was kind of their familiarity towards our team or the team which is established in terms of quality, it was always there. So they reach out to us as always as a priority to airlift the patients. Whenever they're coming, trusting the most sickest person, they always go for us because end of the day, transit care medicine is a very different animal, and being a flying doctor takes some kind of an attitude, because it's very comfortable to do something in your own hospital environment, but when it comes to doing something out of the hospital environment, especially at 40,000 feet, it's not easy. And if hardly around 8 to 10 hospitals in entire India have a facility called ECMO. So, and having those doctors to trained to becoming a flying doctors is again not something a joke. And getting these people to, because this ECMO is a procedure which should be done in the theater or in a cath lab, in a cardiothoracic surgery, that kind of a caliber is this procedure. But the situation is so bad, we can't take a cardiac theater into the remote places. For example, small places like Kota, Rajkot and things like that. So the only way of doing it is take this facility or take these mobile units with the skill sets to the remote places. And aviation or aeromedical medicine is all about that, not taking the facility to the patient side than bringing the patient to the hospital. So these patients are so unstable that you cannot move them without putting them on ECMO. And because they've already passed the level of ventilator, the ventilator has failed, and the ECMO is the next advanced therapy after the ventilator. So when the ventilator is to that high to highest possible level, ventilator is supporting and is still not able to oxygenate the body, the next comes the ECMO.
How about the demand, ma'am?
As I said, demand is crazy. I get 200 calls in 2-3 hours, and it is very difficult to say no. But at the same time, we have come to this point of prioritizing, which we are trained in the UK called triaging. So triaging means if there is a 27-year-old, if we get 27-year-old, we'll decide if somebody who's pregnant gets a priority. And if we get a call of a 55-year-old with a 32-year-old, we always say, okay, go for the younger ones, because the chances are better. They will have a better survival.